Hey folks, I feel like I'm recording this video just it's like a coping mechanism, really. I mean, my title or the name of the channel is Ascesis Catharsis, and that's my handle. But it honestly does feel like this is a case of just like trying to get all sorts of negativity out of my system, um, and I have to restart the whole no fat thing again. I might honestly just start doing like a series of videos again, just talking about my day and logging in with whatever day of no fat I'm on. It seems like really almost like pathetic in a sense, but it's like with so many things, whether you're on a spiritual path or not, it's always like back to the basics. Even the ascended master is sitting there doing his meditation or his prayers or something like that, even after they've attained enlightenment. So I gotta kind of get back to the basics on that. But I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed with a lot of stuff right now. It it's like I lost the job back on the 26th. It's been about a week and a half since then. I think I've mostly made my peace with it, but there's always things that like will bring it back, because like now I sat down and finally started putting in a claim for EDDUI, just so I'd have some money coming in to the bank account, so I won't be going under, so to speak, financially and all that. And I was sitting there going through the stuff, and then they asked like question like why are you unemployed, and you click on the drop down menu and see the different ones, and so you can't in this case I can't say that I was laid off, so there's a fired/terminated option, and I select that, and then it goes well, why were you fired? You go through all these, there's like a bazillion, well, not literally, when I say a bazillion, and I've dealt with, I'm thinking of one person in particular who would just be like making fun of my usage of that word, because it just sounded weird to him. And this is back when I was in college, and it was kind of weird to him because he was from overseas, and it's like this, I don't know, that's something that just really like will take me off, where it's like if I was in some foreign country and I heard some slang that I had never heard of in any class, I wouldn't be like laughing at that. I'd be like, hey, what does that word mean? I like to learn that, so I'm not just speaking the formal language, I'm actually getting some of the street lingo and slang and that sort of thing. But anyways, there are many options to choose from, and the one that I clicked on that was most relevant was that, oh, I wasn't performing up to employer standards during probationary period, which is accurate, I guess, from what they told me. But like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I text my dad, I don't know, like it's like I'm 38 years old, my dad's in his late 60s. It really shouldn't, I mean, there's gonna, I don't want to think about it, because I know, like, going on from this point on, life is gonna get bad. There's gonna be just a lot of bad things coming my way, and I'm probably gonna be crushed by it. I'm probably gonna be drained by it. I know there are people waiting in the wings to take advantage of me, particularly my sister, who is very much parasitic in her nature at this point in her life, and in very many ways unapologetically so. But I guess the default, like, reaction is, oh, just drop a text message to dad, asking him like, hey, what should I put? And 9 times out of 10, usually what happens is like we get into some argument, because he has his sort of like perspective on things, I got my perspective on things, and it's like I'm sure a lot of it is generational, because like back in the day, like if you were on unemployment, you could like put down whatever the heck you wanted to, and likelihood is they probably wouldn't even actually contact the employer, or if they contacted you, then then they just relate what you told them to your employer, and the employer said, yeah, Yeah, that's what it was, then you'd be off the hook. And me, it's not that I want to be Mr. Honest. I really have a disdain for that sort of mentality of like always being noble and virtuous, because and I used to be when I was like half my age, I was like the opposite. I was like, no, this is the way it's going to be. I swore an oath. And there's a certain amount of that still lingering there, but there's far more of a and a lot of it's just like life experience where you not only see other people lying and getting away with it and being rewarded for it, but you see the people who try and toe the line and be very truthful and honest and noble and virtuous, getting not just like not just getting like what they expected, like in terms of like the bare minimum, like but getting less than that again, screwed over, coming up short because they had to do things the right way, and so it's kind of like more, I guess the anxiety I get from that is more of am I gonna get caught? If I put things a certain way, is that gonna disqualify me from getting unemployment, etc., etc. um, there's that whole deal. The other thing is that day after tomorrow, well, I guess it's technically speaking tomorrow because like it's past midnight now, but on Tuesday supposed to have like the first midterm for my circuits class, which I feel mostly okay for. What I've been typically doing before the quizzes we've had is I've gone back and redid the homework, at least the first few problems, picked out some that that looked like they'd be the kind that he'd be throwing on a quiz, because he'd mostly put problems on there that resemble those, but in the last two homeworks have been kind of complicated. I'd say the older of the two, like I think I got that and that wasn't too bad. The last one, which is with Thevenin and Norton's theorems, definitely need to be on top of that and reviewing those. I'm not sure how he's gonna formulate everything, because he could just like, if he wanted to, he could probably put like you could probably put problems in there that combine every little concept into one, because they all kind of built on each other, which is something that I'd be worried about. We've done a lot of like review of like Kirchhoff's voltage law, Kirchhoff's current law, got into nodal analysis, mesh analysis, source transformation, stuff that like up to that point it doesn't seem too complicated. I know I'm gonna definitely have to review certain things, because there's just like certain points where like, okay, as long as I remember this, source transformation shouldn't be bad. As long as I remember this, that, and the other, then mesh analysis or nodal analysis shouldn't be that bad, kind of a deal. But that's another source of anxiety, because I don't know. It's like, for one thing, I have a lot riding on me doing well in this class, and I always feel like at this point in my life, maybe it's for me right now at this day, it's the fact that I relapsed to PMO. Maybe that's kind of why I'm a little more sensitive to this sort of stuff. But in general, I always feel like these days in particular, like I don't want to use the expression the walls are closing in, but I got a very narrow path to get through, and if I don't get through that, then that's it. And I think to a certain extent I did become like this, like about, it's weird to think like 10 years ago, like who I was when I was 28. It's just weird. think, I'm 38, and it's like, there are some people who reach this age and they're like, man, what the heck happened? How did I get this way? Where did the hair go? Where did my ability to smile and laugh and take life not so seriously and to joke around and be, happy, where'd that go? And it just seems like it's a lot more work nowadays just to be able to relax. It's like you have to sort of wear yourself out, just getting on that treadmill or going for a run or lifting a bunch of weights. You gotta like make that effort too. But let's say 10 to 15 years ago, again, that just seems weird to think, like, just to say 10 to 15 years ago and think like, I'm not saying like, when I was a kid, but 10 to 15 years ago when I was a young adult, young man. Now I'm basically middle-aged, which again, just, I don't know. Apparently people don't think I look my age, which I don't know if they're just saying that to be nice or complimenting me or respect my skin, like I've taken care of my my skincare routine or what have you, that I've been able to like maintain a youthful look of some sort. As long as I have my beanie on, they can't see my missing hair. But there was a time in my life when I was a lot more carefree, and it was more the FA part of the FAFO acronym, minus what usually that means. I mean, screwing around for me did not mean having sex or doing drugs or drinking or going to like drug-fueled parties or something like that, or really something. It was like I may have skirted the edge in the sense of going to some social engagements, but it's sort of like I didn't really care about my grades and things of that nature. Now like I see like so much of why that is so damned important. Whatever you're doing, you gotta be the best at it, whether you're an electrician or a plumber or a soldier or a student, engineer, doctor, whatever. You gotta like strive to be the best at it, because if you're not, those are the people who like get gate kept out of promotions, jobs, money, a lifestyle, that sort of thing. And as time goes on, generation by generation, the bar keeps getting raised for who gets to make the cut. And I think that's kind of like why I get so stressed out, because I'm not 18 anymore. I can't act like I got 20 more years of youth ahead of me. I'm 38, and with the amount of time I was in school, I probably should have a PhD, but because of a number of factors, and I'm not gonna like discount like the personal responsibility part of things, but I think like that gets overplayed by certain groups of people, and other groups of people like it gets underplayed by. But yeah, it's like I'm 38. If I'm lucky, I'd have that master's by 41, 42. And I'll probably be the 41, 42-year-old virgin in all likelihood, which, it's the case of like, if I don't get this, then like, what am I getting out of life? And so I'm kind of stressed about that. Not because I don't think I'm intellectually capable, but it's just sort of like the state, the headspace that you go into something like that in. I've had times where like I know that I knew the material, but because my headspace was so messed up, whether it was just a bunch of extraneous stress and garbage, like not to do another shout out, but Dark Magician, Alex Ehlers. I mean, I know now that Dark Magician is still around. I'm not sure what's up with Alex, if he's still around, but they were there, following me way back when, like 2017, 2018, and just the garbage that I was dealing with from like, that clique, let's just say. And I've had times where like, I've gone to an exam where like I know that if my headspace hadn't been so funked up, you know, you walk into a class and you see that girl, you know, you get those feelings again. You're thinking, like, you're having to put extra energy to fight to get yourself to go, she doesn't exist, she's not here, focus on the exam, focus on the exam, focus on the exam, you know. Or maybe because, you know, for the last 2 to 3 weeks you've been dealing with all sorts of depression and garbage and whatnot, you really weren't able to study. So maybe you generally didn't know, but you know that you could have been prepared if it hadn't been for things of that nature. And those are the things that really worry me with this, because man, I've gone in and taken a couple quizzes, at least in that class, where like I thought I screwed it up totally, but then I got like a 9 out of 10, or I got a 10 out of 10 on them. On the same token, I'm, you know, yet again just worried about, you know, I mean, at this point I'm probably just gonna have to go to bed and hope I can drag myself out of bed tomorrow. I'm feeling really down and stressed out about stuff. And again, I'm sure a lot of stuff is this whole no fap relapse, because afterwards it's kind of like you got that high, and now you're back in reality, and that's where the anxiety and the depression comes back from, because it's just like, you know, it's like you got that ecstasis, which can be very dangerous, you know. But you got that ecstasis, or have that feeling of ecstasy, getting outside of mundane reality. You know, you're able to trick your mind into thinking that you accomplished your reproductive goal, that you won the reproductive struggle, and now you're back to reality, and you're like, no, that never really happened, that was just fantasy, you know. And maybe you're not even necessarily consciously thinking that, but you got this certain neurochemical side of that going on. But yeah, that's what I'm worried about with regards to that. So there's the EDDUI business, there's the exam, there's the being back on the job search again when I thought I was done with that, and, you know, got drop kicked out of that. And having to stress about money again and how much I'm spending, and, you know, this, that, and the other. And because honestly, I don't have a life. I don't have anybody here comforting me. Not that I think that, you know, it's the woman's job to, you know, be there to, you know, be my shoulder to cry on, or provide me with all that kind of support, but I literally don't have anybody to talk to. You know, I could probably reach out to my uncle, but then there's things that, oh, my dad doesn't want me to tell him, and then there's just stuff that, you know, like, he's, I think, 3 years older than my dad, so he's like 70. And, you know, it gets to a point where it's like you're talking to an old person, and like, okay, well, what can they do for you? What can they tell you? You know, they can give you their old person wisdom, but they can't really walk the path for you. And even if they could, like, you know, it's kind of like there comes a time in everybody's life when you gotta just be able to, like, walk it yourself, walk that path in life yourself, carry that weight yourself. And I don't know. And, you know, my grandma's been gone for close to a year now. And my mom passed away last year in July. And, you know, today I was crying about her for a moment there. You know, that kind of stuff just, like, sort of jumps out at you at random in these really weird times. I mean, if I'm sitting there in my room, it's not as weird, but if I was sitting in a classroom, that would be kind of strange. You know, because there's times where as much anger as I have against her, which I do, and it's perfectly legit, You know, there's the fact that she's still my mom, and is will always be my mom. You know, like she would say to me. And there's the fact that, you know, like, was it a little over a week before I was fired, my sister calls me up on my birthday, bitching me out, complaining about how our dad went driving somewhere and wasn't calling her. And, you know, truth be told, even if he had called her and let her know where he was at, she'd have forgotten an hour later because, oh, she claims she has memory problems or whatever. She'd be flashing out at him. But she was bitching me out about how she thought I owed her $4,000 when she only paid $3,000 on the lawyer's fees, and that, you know, I don't owe her that money. My dad, you know, she also claimed my dad owed her money, you know, that money. And she tries to come up with all these sorts of, like, it's like grasping at straw so she can try and claim that, like, people owe her one, when the reality is her entire life it's been somebody else shouldering the burden, paying for her upkeep, you know, paying to send her to school where she effed around and washed out and wasted my dad's retirement funds, you know, $20,000 worth. Which, you know, at that point, I mean, that's also something he just wasn't saving for retirement. He wasn't doing his due diligence, but still, you know, it's not, that's kind of like irrelevant, you know, if you will, to the to the problem. But yeah, she goes and bitches me out, claims I owe her this money, claims that she never gave a damn about keeping our grandparents' house. You know, might as well sell it off so she can get her money. That's all she cares about. And that was like, that was under a week before we went and talked to the attorney again, and it was like this sort of like this shit show where there was like obvious disunity on our side, and you know, my sister's an idiot. She effed that up. Of course, my dad still wants to try and blame me nowadays, but, you know, the thing is, like, I think back to my birthday and getting, you know, bitched out on my birthday and being called names and whatnot, and I remember every time that it was my birthday and my mom would call me up, and you know, she would talk to me like, man, like, that day was the day that, you know, made her life. That, like, she, you know, and I know she felt that way because when she was dying from cancer and she was in the hospital bed, she said to me that, you know, we've been watching this, like, documentary on, you know, ancient emperors of China and the things that they built, and she was like, oh, you know, I see something like this and I wonder, you know, what have I done with my life? You know, what am I compared to that? You know, and then she said, oh, I remember that I had these two beautiful children, and I got to be their mother, and, you know, that made me think that maybe my life was for something, you know. And my mom would call me up on my birthday, and, you know, like, I still think that at other times when she would call me up on different days and want to just, like, go on some rant about politics or religion or something like that, you know, I think that was a waste of time, and I did have a right to be frustrated or annoyed with that, and just, you know, hey, I don't want to talk about those things, let's talk about something else. The time that she would call me up on my birthday and just, you know, she would recount to me the story of my birth like it was, you know, the birth of someone super important, you know, and amazing and wonderful, who was destined for some great, you know, destined for some great destiny. I know that sounds it's repetitive, but she would do that, and we would talk, and then she would, you know, like, recount it like it was the most amazing thing ever. And that just getting talked to me and having made it through another year, you know, and that sort of thing was like it meant something to her. And, you know, now that's been replaced by somebody, some parasitic loser, narcissistic type, bitching me out, claiming that I owe her money when I don't, and being a snake in the grass about something that means like so much to me, and it should mean so much to them. Like it should be the kind of thing that no matter what, they're gonna do whatever it takes to keep the house sort of thing. It should be one of those things. But you come to realize how scummy most people are, and most people do include one's family. I'm so cut up about that, because I guess I hoped that they would be better, that they were better. And, in the same token, like, they were always demanding of me that I drop out of this whole pursuit of a master's degree. Just give that up. Just get a job, and they think, like, I can get an engineering job and be making those 6 figures and all that kind of crap. And that's another point of frustration. Like, I also text my dad that, also, I'm not an engineer. I've never done any actual engineering work. The degree doesn't matter. And that's essentially how I feel about this. Like, God, I don't remember 99% of the things I learned in undergrad. I've never done any real engineering work. It's been this technician work where you just like, you get into this like habit of just like, okay, like, what steps do I gotta take? Not what's going on here in terms of the science. And nobody's really asking you, what do you think we should do? What steps should we take? No one's expecting initiative from you. They're just expecting you to do your job. And you do that for a few years, and you just kind of like lose everything about that engineering mentality, that with the confidence that you should have to be able to give your opinion and whatnot. Like, there were so many times, not at this last job, but the job before that, where like I felt that the way they were doing their process was wrong, or was stupid, or was inefficient, or so. And even if I were to put things politely, which I did try to, like, it didn't matter. It would just get shut down 9 times out of 10. And the few times that it did, it didn't really make any real difference, And, I don't know. I think I wasted over a decade of my life. And on the same token, like, I don't even know what the heck I would have done otherwise, Because it's not about the intellectual knowledge of what to do. It's the environment that I was in. It's like college was the only option. My parents would look down their noses on the person who was the plumber or the electrician who was making 6 figures, because they thought that, oh, he was such scum, and why is this guy our next door neighbor? And, we went to college, we have all these degrees, we shouldn't have to rub shoulders with these individuals, And they drilled into me that, like, if you didn't go to college and get that STEM degree, particularly in an engineering discipline, which I think it's kind of bogus at this point, for the most part, with the exception of probably a handful of fields. But yeah, if you didn't do that, you were like less than scum. If you joined the military, you were just some loser who had to join the military because you had no options because you were an idiot. The list goes on. And now I see all the people who did those things are like miles ahead of me. The folks who are the plumbers, the electricians who have their own damn businesses, they can work their own hours, they make 6 figures, they have wives and kids. Or the folks who were in the military and they got, whether they got their GI Bill or they got training. You see some of these jobs nowadays where it's like, we'll accept military training in thus and such fields in lieu of degree, and like, damn, what if I'd done that? Oh wait, I wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have had any clue to do that, because that's not what my parents told me to do. That's not what they drilled into my head. And a lot of it was just like that, beating you down, turning you into a cog who has to just take orders from your domineering father who acts like he's such a friggin' genius, he has it all figured out. Or your mom being like that. And it's not until you get the hell away from them you start running into the fact that life isn't what they said it was. That you really start to learn. And too oftentimes it's too late at that point, Like, it's great now that I know all these things about intersexual dynamics, but, like, hey, I'm 38 and it's too late for it to make a real difference, Now I'd be that weird middle-aged guy who's hanging around with, people half my age, and I wouldn't fit in. I wouldn't, be able to make anything of that. But hey, at least my parents got 7 years of me being a glorified maid around the house out of me. My mom was able to, drink all those years. She didn't have to go and do anything around the house. My sister never had to go do that because, hey, she had me doing that. And then when I left, my dad stepped into that. So she never had to develop any sort of ability to do that. She just got to F around. Good for them, right? Yeah, and I'm afraid that at this point we're gonna lose the house, and that that whole thing is gonna destroy whatever last semblance of any family we ever had, and that it's gonna push me over the edge. It's like also like my dad making his like big time promises about how, oh, don't worry, worst comes to worst, we'll just buy out the house in full, I'll have the cash. And then like as time goes on, him changing the numbers and going, well, I can only cover this much or that much. And it's like, well, I thought you had XYZ, amount of dollars. What happened? Did you go and spend it all on something stupid again? Like he's so financially irresponsible and undisciplined. And he's the guy who makes 6 figures a year, many, many years in a row, and somehow can't pay off his house, even though his house was, worth like a third of what it's worth now. And he's just thinking about selling it all so he can cash in, and he just, I don't care anymore. My wife is gone. I'm gonna, just burn it all to the ground. It's like that. And I swear it is generational. It's like that boomer narcissism of like, the world doesn't deserve to go on after me. We're supposed to be the final generation. We're supposed to be the culmination of everything. And so therefore, torch it all on the way out so that, nobody's left, behind. Because we don't want to deal with the fact that the world does continue after you're gone, Like my grandma would say that, the world will go on after you're gone. Like, you're not that important. You don't really matter all that much. And she'd, come to accept that at her ripe old age of 93 when she passed away. And my parents can never really accept that fact. And, it's kind of like my dad, my sister, they would all love to have things go to hell so they could just, like, spit in my face. Because, like, I dared to aspire to something greater. I dared to push for something greater. And they'll just use me as a scapegoat. Waste thousands and thousands of dollars on an attorney and then not get anything out of it. Like, that's what, I'm afraid of happening. And it's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. Now it's nearly like 1 a.m. Probably should be in bed. Probably should be sleeping. Probably should be maybe jotting some things down for a to-do list for the next few days, but here I am, stressing the frick out, sitting in my car. So I don't know what the future holds. I hope that everything that's going through my mind is just a delusion, that I'm overblowing things, that things are going to be okay. You know, it really makes me angry that any of this stuff is even on my plate at this point, because, like, according to the original will, you know, the will that says that, you know, it should have been on my mom's shoulders. Of course, she's gone. She couldn't stop drinking. She drank herself out of this world. You know, and my sister being completely incapable of handling most things, and then myself struggling with adulthood, and my dad wanting to just, you know, torture it all to the ground, like, you know, and I don't know where his mind is 9 times out of 10. But I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. It's probably all gonna fall apart, but I hope I'm wrong on that. Anyways, for those who do watch my videos, you know, thanks for watching, and honestly, thanks for the support. Like I said, I really don't have anybody to talk to, and so this is like my only outlet. And now I'm getting more pain again in my hand. I don't know. That's another thing. I need to make the effort to message my doctor to try and get them to get that prescription over to a different pharmacy. But anyways, hopefully I'll see you folks around. Hopefully I'll actually have some good news. So, and not a mix of good and bad news, just good news. But anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Yeah, see you around. Bye-bye.